So welcome to section 4. Here we're going to discuss ways of kind of guiding the usage of the I Ching towards the development of integrity in day and applying this to, as the foundation for our ethical behavior in the world. I would say with the I Ching, it should be obvious to anybody, so let's make it obvious, that we don't really use these systems to tell us what to do. And we can't just ask a question like a legal question and just throw the I Ching and just have it answer it for us. I mean, that is kind of silly. It doesn't really work that way. Yet at the same time, it is wise counsel. It is counsel that has accumulated over years with lots of historical situations that have been layered onto it, and it also comes from a connection to the numinous, archives of the collective mind of the ancients. This was an instinctual and intuitive paradigm that comes from somewhere, and its resonance is deeply powerful. If you are still watching along and are challenged by that, I recommend reading Carl Jung's introduction in the Wilhelm Baines version of the I Ching. It's like 50 pages written by Carl Jung in his 80s, assessing the sanity of the I Ching, and as he does it, he just has to say the I Ching is sane. And I've used the I Ching for 10 years, and I have to say the I Ching is sane. People, that's a different story. But this is an amazing tool. It is rather mysterious how it works. So you can ascribe psychological definitions and mathematical precision to it. But what makes it mysterious, I think, is the fact that it is useful for us. So for the purpose of this class, we are looking at it as a way of accessing our subconscious and our unconscious mind. There's parts of us that are connected to wisdom and insight that isn't always available to us because we're functioning from this postnatal mindset that has to, engage a lot of social conditions and has to engage a lot of survival mechanisms. The ego does what it does, but it can't always see the big picture. So the I Ching is allowing us to get to the parts of our mind that have a broader perspective. It's going to induce a meditative state for you. So the I Ching becomes a meditative tool, and there's a certain type of meditation that you get from the I Ching. So you're going to cast it with coins, and it's written how to do that, and I'll take you through a guided casting. And then you're going to get a reading from a commentary, and then you're going to reflect on it. So as I was just saying to a class today, if you're angry and you want to punch someone in the face, the mere fact that you pull out 3/4 and cast the I Ching is already like giving you some perspective. You're developing, you're detaching a little bit from the situation before you make a response. So it is a tool of reflection, of meditation, and generally all of its counsel is going to recommend patience. So the whole point of the I Ching is that you take a little time to reflect on things and to align your value system with your actions, or your non-actions, as we say. So, right, so we have this as our usage of the I Ching. It's going to help us cultivate patience, perseverance, simplicity, humility. It's going to help us see the workings of time, the workings of life. It is the book of change, and the Tao Te Ching is always counseling to try to find the constancy within the changing. So the I Ching is going to tell you this is all the stuff that's constantly changing, the 10,000 things of the phenomenal, material world, and they have to keep moving or else life stops. Life can't stop for long, So what we have here is get used to the ride. This is the movement of life. And then as you start tuning into that prenatal aspect of yourself, your character, you can develop the integrity where you understand your value system, and then with continued usage, it becomes a bit more of a spiritual tool, a tool of the Shen, where you start seeing yourself observing your actions in each day and assessing those actions. So it promotes this observer consciousness, which is helpful for ethical. It's that sort of that detached behavior so that you get time to reflect and pull in the parts of your mind that weren't available in your day-to-day consciousness. So that's how we're going to use it. And the I Ching is interesting. It tells a story. It is a mythological motif. Like all cultures have their mythologies and their religious iconographies, the I Ching is tapped into this archetypal set of forces, to use that Jungian phrase, of the archetypes. And they're the archetypal situations that occur on the archetypal journey. This is the soul's journey, the fool's journey, the hero's journey. This is our life's journey that we are taking. So you don't have to use the book at this level, but it starts off with getting the big forces. Heaven is the first, earth is the second, and then we also have, like, we're planting a seed, we're planting it in the earth, it's going to begin sprouting, it's going to have difficulty as it sprouts. This is the fool beginning his folly, and number 4, and this is also the chaos of a new project. And then we go through the forces that support it, the forces that put the pressure on it, because growth isn't just fully supported. Growth has to meet the conditions of the wind and the cold and the rain, or tree growing out of granite. You have all these images of growth. So, and then what we do is you go through these aspects of the I Ching. There's these esoteric teachings of the mythological part, but at the end you're going to get to opening the wings of the heart, and then it's all going to begin again. And at the end, we have this marriage of fire and water. The last two are fire over water and water over fire, and this is the union of heaven and earth inside the human being. This is the heart-kidney axis. Again, that's a little bit more spiritual information, but that's the point. Start out on your, embark on your journey, and open the wings of your heart. And how this works is that we learn lessons. So there are the principles of circular time, and the I Ching represents that, yes, everything's going to roll around again, and if you feel stuck, you are going to hit that same moment. That same situation is going to keep recurring. So if you see a recurring theme, like Einstein's definition of insanity, where you just do the same thing and expect different results, the I Ching is a tool to help you get you out of that little that part of the river, so you get moving again. So we talk about that as a way of learning lessons. So if you use the model that while you're alive, that you're going to continue learning. So this is a way of helping you focus on, like, what are these themes in my life that seem to cause the greatest resistance in myself? And what that happens to be is that as you learn to recognize these themes, you can be less selfish. You get to know yourself better, so you love yourself and you are in your axis and you have integrity, but you are also able to evaluate situations for the potential of the greater good. And through usage of the I Ching, it's not like we've always wanted to constantly consult something, is that we start to internalize it. We internalize its messages, and it becomes effortless. So we talk a lot about it helps us make our choices, but it's also about approaching choicelessness, about becoming natural. Once we have these understanding, it becomes natural again. It's like the Bruce Lee quote, where a kick is just a kick at first, and then you learn the system, and it's like, oh, a kick's not just a kick, and then once you're got it under control, then a kick's just a kick again. It's the same with this work of the I Ching. Life is just kind of normal, then life's this miraculous process of learning lessons, and then learning lessons is pretty normal. So that's how we're going to approach the I Ching in this way. And then through learning our lessons, we would say this is like, this life pressurizes us and carves our bones, and in these bone records are these lessons of life that unfold over the cycles of 7 and 8. Again, a little bit more of a spiritual version. But we want to understand ourselves so we can carry ourselves with a maximum integrity, skeletal and behavioral, and the intention behind it. So the I Ching becomes a tool for aligning our behavior, our action, with our value system and our integrity. So this is a metaphor for the Chinese concept of the harmony of yin and wei. The harmony of yin and wei is usually seen as the protective qi and the nutritive qi, but we could also say that this is the harmony of feeling, yin, and action, wei qi. So that's what the I Ching is going to do. It's going to allow us to reflect long enough so we can observe ourselves and see how we function internally, and then it's going to allow us to align that with our behavior. And again, we talk about action and non-action, because once you have awareness, everything you do, whether you do something or don't do something, it was still a choice. And this becomes a spiritual process because you're both watching the action, but you're also watching the internal intention and motivation. So we have these aspects. And again, then we want to use the harmony of yin and wei as a metaphor for harmonizing internal and external. So the internal is this reflection of who we are and what we intend to do and the actions that we take. And the external is about harmonizing these with society, is that the greater good and the benevolence is going to impact positively the most people. Certainly during times of revolution and political disharmony, these actions, ethics are contextual, so it's never perfectly clear. But still, the idea is it's going to be the benefit of society. So we want to have this internal compass should be in harmony with what's great for the community. And we have some exercises later on in this book where you are going to take some of the values and the statements that are in the Naquan Code of Ethics and reflect on if your alignment with those, and your alignment with those in the past and the future. So that is going to be the guideline for using the I Ching to develop our internal moral compass and integrity. And then we will have a sample casting of the I Ching and a little bit of an interpretation of the results of that. Thank you.